Imagine you've got a crisp new $100 bill. If you take that bill, shove it in a drawer, and leave it there, 10 years from now, it's still just going to be exactly $100. But if you put that money into the right kind of bank account, well, that money can actually start having babies. And then those babies have babies of their own. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unlock exactly how to make your money work for you by exploring the absolute most powerful force in finance: interest. To kick things off, let's look at a hypothetical. If you had to choose right now, would you rather get a guaranteed $10 every single year, no matter what, or would you rather get money that grows bigger and bigger every single year? It kind of seems like an obvious choice, right? But this exact question represents the fundamental difference between the two mathematical concepts we're exploring today. One keeps you walking in a slow, steady, straight line, while the other literally puts you on a rocket ship. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with a quick look at the rent for money. Then we'll cover simple interest basics, the compounding powerhouse, the 10-year showdown, the credit card debt trap, and wrap it all up with common mistakes to avoid. Okay, part one, the rent for money. Before we get completely bogged down in the math and the formulas, we really need to understand the basic cost of cash. Think of interest as rent for money. It's just like when you rent an apartment. You pay the owner for the right to live there, right? Well, money works the exact same way. If you save your cash in a bank, the bank actually pays you interest for the right to use your money. You are literally the landlord of your own money. But flip it around. If you borrow money, like swiping a credit card or taking out a car loan, you pay the bank interest for the privilege of using their cash. Moving right along to part two, simple interest basics. Okay, let's dive into this. Our first major mathematical concept is simple interest, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It's simple. It's calculated only on the original amount of money you started with. In the finance world, we call that starting amount your principal. Because the interest is only ever calculated on that starting chunk of cash, your money just grows in a perfectly steady, straight line. No shocks, no surprises. Let's demystify this with a real example. Take a look at Maria. Maria deposits $500 into a savings account that offers a 4% simple interest rate for 3 years. We just use the simple interest formula, which is I equals PRT. First, we identify our values. P, the principal, is 500. R, the rate, is our 4%, but actually, scratch that. We always write it as a decimal, so it's 0.04. And T, the time in years, is 3. Next, we just multiply them all together. 500 times 0.04 gives us $20. That means Maria earns $20 exactly every single year. Multiply that 20 by our 3 years, and we get $60 in total interest. Add that back to her original 500, and Maria's final total is $560. Pretty straightforward. Let's do a quick guided practice together just to really lock this in. Imagine you invest $800 at a 5% simple interest rate for 2 years. Step 1, multiply your $800 principal by your 0.05 rate. That gives you $40 of interest per year. Multiply that 40 by 2 years, and you've got exactly $80 in interest earned. Step 2, add your $80 of interest right back to your $800 starting principal, and boom, you walk away with a final amount of $880. It's reliable, it's steady, and honestly, it's a breeze to calculate. Which brings us to part 3, the compounding powerhouse. Let's move to compound interest and see how this builds. Because while simple interest is a great starting point, we are about to look at the mechanism where money truly starts to multiply itself. Compound interest is a completely different beast because you don't just earn interest on your original money. You earn interest on your original money plus the previous interest you've already earned. This is the famous concept of interest earning interest. The interest gets added to your pile, and then the bank calculates your new interest based on that bigger, brand new pile. Okay, the formula for compound interest looks a little more intimidating, I know, but don't panic. It's really just plugging in numbers. The formula is A equals P times 1 plus R over N, all raised to the power of NT. A is just your final amount, and N is just how many times the money compounds per year. For this, we'll just use 1 for yearly. Let's look at James here. He invests $1,000 at 5% compound interest for 3 years. P is 1,000. R is 0.05, N is 1, and T is 3. When you run that math through the formula, James ends up with $1,157.63. If James had used simple interest, he'd only have earned $50 a year, giving him $1,150. But because his interest kept compounding, he made an extra $7.63 literally out of thin air. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it charts the difference year by year. Look closely at year 1. Both simple and compound interest give you the exact same $50. Nothing crazy yet. But watch year 2. Simple interest stays at a flat 50, but compound interest, it jumps to $52.50. Why? Because you're earning 5% on last year's $50. By year 3, simple is still trudging along at 50, while compound has accelerated to $55.13. It goes from a flat, boring straight line to a snowball rolling down a hill, picking up speed and size as it goes.
All right, part 4, the 10-year showdown.
3 years is great, sure, but to really witness the raw power of compounding, we need a slightly longer timeline. Let's look at a direct, decade-long competition. We've got a starting principal of $1,000 and an 8% interest rate over 10 whole years. Under option A, simple interest, you earn 8% of your original $1,000 every single year. That is a flat $80 per year. Over 10 years, that's $800 in pure interest, giving you a total of $1,800. Not bad, but now look at option B, compound interest. Using our formula, A equals 1,000 times 1.08 to the 10th power. After 10 years of your interest continuously earning its own interest, your final total comes out to $2,158.92. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why compounding is called the powerhouse of finance. Notice the massive, dramatic gap between these two bars. By doing absolutely nothing different other than choosing a compound interest account over a simple one, you just earned yourself an extra $358.92. The longer the timeline stretches, the more explosive that compounding multiplier effect becomes. Banks know this, which is exactly why they use compound interest to help your savings grow. But we got to talk about the dark side, part 5, the credit card debt trap. We really need to pivot sharply here. What happens when this incredible mathematical powerhouse is pointed in the exact opposite direction? What happens when you're the one paying it? So the crucial point is this. Compound interest works in reverse when you owe money. Credit cards use compound interest aggressively against you. If you don't pay your balance in full, the bank charges you interest. Then, the very next month, they charge you interest on your original debt plus last month's unpaid interest. This is the severe, absolute danger of only making minimum payments. Your payment might only cover the interest, while the unpaid interest continues to pile up, causing your balance to increase at a terrifying, accelerating rate. Your snowball of savings suddenly becomes a brutal avalanche of debt. Finally, part 6, common mistakes to avoid. Now that we completely understand the stakes, I want to make sure you walk away totally empowered to apply these formulas flawlessly in your own life. Here's your actionable checklist, the 3 most common mathematical pitfalls you need to avoid. First, the decimal trap. Always, always change your percentage into a decimal before doing any math. 6% is 0.06. If you multiply by 6 instead of 0.06, your math is going to be wildly, disastrously wrong. Second, remember what your formulas are actually finding. The simple interest formula, I equals PRT, only calculates the interest earned. You got to remember to add it back to your principal to find your total. The compound formula, on the other hand, calculates the final total directly. And third, the exponent. In the compound interest formula, your time, the t, is an exponent. It's not a basic multiplier. That exponent is exactly what creates that magical upward rocket ship curve in your growth over time. So we've seen how money can either walk in a slow, straight line or take off on a literal rocket ship. Knowing the difference between simple and compound interest is your very first, absolute most crucial step to being smart with your money. So to wrap up our explainer today, I've got a bonus challenge for you. Based on the 10-year showdown we just reviewed, I want you to run the math for yourself. Look at option A and option B, look at those final numbers, and then drop a comment below telling us which option is better and exactly why that mathematical snowball is going to change your financial future. Prove the power of interest to yourself. Thanks so much for joining me, and as always, keep learning.